everyone, and welcome back to Talk Wordy, my hub for all of the words that I read, write, or otherwise want to yap about today. I have a very special author guest on the pod. She is the founder of the Get Lit grown-up book fairs that have taken Texas by storm, and the best-selling author of Yours Unexpectedly, Merrily Yours, Entirely Yours, and Foolishly Yours, which is out now. Please welcome Rachel Lewis.
Hello. What a great introduction.
That felt very like rainbow,
Like,
sunshine.
hello. Welcome, Rachel Lewis. Here I am.
Exactly. Oh, it was so cool to like write out all of the books. And I feel like some people forget that you've got that Christmas novella out. So like in my notes, I have all of the titles and then Merrily Yours is in like all caps.
I forget that I have the Christmas novella out. So that's fair that other people also forget.
It's so good. Listen, as a
She's like Yeah, she's like the little stepchild a little bit, which I feel kind of bad about. But I love her and it's such a fun, like easy read. But I feel like for me, I only read holiday things around the holidays. And so I just don't really think about it when it's not that time of year. But I've had people who have been at events and they get mad at me if I don't have the novella because they're like, I wanted the novella, and I'm like, it's April. Like, are you reading that right now? And apparently the answer is yes for some. So,
slight spoiler alert for Merrily Yours real quick because first of all, I love Family Stone. The fact that the Family Stone is a comp, I was gagged immediately.
I love that movie so much. Rest in peace, Diane Keaton.
Ugh, that was rough. I immediately thought of you. I should have messaged
Yeah.
you, but I was boring.
Yeah.
But the fact, literally, if you read the books in sequential order, and so you read Yours Unexpectedly, and then you read Merrily Yours. I remember, I remember sitting there, and I got to Thea's chapter, and I was like, "Who is
Who's
this?
that?
Who's Thea?" And I literally went back to the first book, and I was like, "Did I just like miss her?"
You're like searching through your ebook, like
I,
Thea, typing Thea in the
yeah,
search function.
I literally was like, "I feel like a fake fan. What's going on here?" And then like it was her chapter was so somber, and then we get the second book, and I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
oh,
I see what you did
okay,
there.
hey girl, okay."
Well, she was the only, obviously knew that Jules's in her book were coming next. But she was also the only female main character that we hadn't met and that they didn't know from like their past or whatever. And so I was like, okay, I need to throw her in here so that you kind of get a little bit of a setup for what's to come. But yeah, I got so many messages that was like, who is this? What's happening? It's like, you just have to wait to find out.
It was the perfect hook. I was like,
Thank you.
color me intrigued. Okay, but before we keep going down a long rabbit hole about your books, which we will get to,
Great.
what I like to do with my guests at the start of each episode is talk about what we are reading, watching, and listening to. Reading wise, in addition to Foolishly Yours, I am so geeked that I got to arc read it. I'm having a ball. You guys are gonna love it. I am also listening to an advanced listening copy of The Shippers by Catherine Center. I have been
Oh,
needing a cruise or some kind of getaway for a long time. So, and also like her narrators, or I guess it's just one, I think it's just one woman actually. But I love her audiobooks in particular. So
okay,
super
that's good to know.
cute. She's going on like a really long coast to coast tour in the summer, so I'll get to see her again. Very stoked about that.
I love
Watching
that.
wise, are we shocked? We shouldn't be. I'm still watching Abbott Elementary. I love it. It's
We'll talk. Oh my God, we have to rabbit hole down that because
yes.
I love that show. I
Ugh,
love that show.
it's so good. And
It is a show that I could not watch until because I spent 10 years in public education
yep.
and I could not watch it while I was still teaching because I just knew it was gonna be too accurate. I know. I knew it was gonna hit too close to home, so I was like, I can't watch this show. This is my life. I don't want to see it. And then after I left teaching, I started watching it and I binged it. And I was correct. It is so accurate, and I love that show so much. It's hilarious.
Yeah. It's fun fact, I'm actually getting my teaching certification right now. So
Oh, girl.
I haven't entered yet. So I'm like, I'm gonna soak it up and like prepare myself.
Uh-huh. And like well, every scenario that you're like, that would never happen, it will happen. So
Yeah.
you're like watching, you're like, this is a work of fiction, and it is not.
Is
It's
this
not a
play
work of
about
fiction.
us?
It is. That is 100% about us. Yeah.
And then listening to wise, I am in this really weird dichotomy of I've got Michael Jackson over here to prep for the biopic, and then I'm listening to Ella Langley. Just those two exclusively.
That's fair.
Somebody
I
make a
love that.
matchup. But
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so what about you? What have you been reading, watching, and listening to?
Okay, I'm reading really slowly right now. I've just been like in a slump all year. And so right now I'm reading Heartbreaker by Sarah McLean, which is one of her Hell's Bells historical romances. And I love it. I'm reading really slow because I'm reading like half a chapter at night before I go to bed. I have a physical copy. And then I will like pass out. But I'm having the best time. I think she does historical romance, words are hard, really well, and writes such strong female main characters that are just, I want to be friends with. So I'm having a blast with that. And then what's the next one? What am I watching?
Yeah, watching.
Okay. I am watching, you're gonna make fun of me. I ready for this? I have to have like some background noise when I'm working on admin type tasks. And so I've tried to find shows that have just a ton of episodes that I don't have to watch or care about to like really follow what's going on. So right now I'm watching season something really old of Married at First Sight.
Oh, good
Like
choice. I love that show.
that is my background show right now. I honestly could not tell you what season I'm on, because it just takes me to the next one on Hulu. It just
Yep.
keeps going. It's not like Netflix where it'll stop and be like, "Are you still watching?" Hulu just keeps going for you. So that is what I am watching. It is so bad. It's so bad. And also is such an era. Like the
It
one I'm
is.
watching, it has to be from like 10 years ago, and it's such an era. So that's a time. I was gonna say a good time, but it's not.
It's
It's
just
just a
daytime.
time.
No,
Yeah,
Married
it's
at
just
First Sight, I feel like all you have to do is like take a screenshot of like the couples and from what they are wearing, I could probably tell you what year it is.
yes.
Like
I
it,
mean,
it's
the outfits, not even the outfits, but also like the wedding looks, like the dress that they pick out for their wedding and the hair, and makeup. I'm like, oh man,
mm,
that was an era. So it's been really interesting to watch. But I also feel like I would be so horrible in that situation. Like I would fail miserably at that kind of reality show where they're literally following you around
oh, yeah.
24/7. No, I'd be so bad at that. So I have some grace for them, but I admit some of those outfit choices are bad. And then I am listening. Okay, I'm not a big music person, actually. I make my husband do all my playlists for my books because I I pretty much only listen ever to like 2000s bubblegum pop, or like some we have like girl power anthems that play in my car, so it's like we'll listen to a bunch of Dolly Parton or ABBA or Carole King, things like that. So I'm not really listening to any music right now in particular, but I do listen to a podcast that is one of my favorites. It's very, again, ultra specific. You're going to be like, what the hell, Rachel? But I listen to a podcast called digging up the Duggars. So
Oh my gosh. No, you think that I'm gonna make fun of you, but you need to understand you're hitting every single one of my TLC hyperfixations.
I'm like, let me talk about this. Okay. So it is an excellent podcast. They are, it's a husband and wife duo that do the podcast, and they do like episode recaps for every episode, and then they do a deep dive afterward. And she watched it as it was coming out, and like really knows the family and what's going on. Like she really followed it really closely. And he has no idea who any of these people are. And so it's just really interesting getting both of him watching it for the first time. And then she leads like the deep dives and stuff and really goes into deep dives on IBLP, which is the religious cult that they're a part of, and different facets of that. But then she'll also do deep dives into different people that are kind of like IBLP adjacent. I don't know. It's just fascinating. And it's such a good listen. And I think cults are really interesting to me. I just think that it is. On one hand, I'm like, how do you get into that? On the other hand, I'm like, I totally understand how you could
Yeah.
get into that. So, yeah, and this one specifically is really interesting. So that's what I'm listening to. It's
Oof.
digging up the Duggars.
I'll have to go find that because I remember, was it Shiny Happy People or like,
Yes.
yeah, when that came out, I was sat. You could not pry me
Yes.
away from the TV if you tried. Um,
Right.
because I watched the Duggars when the I was gonna
Yes.
say when the show was coming out, but also when some of them were coming out because she was actively having more children on the show.
She was still having more kids. Yeah. Yeah.
So tired. I know she's tired.
Well, what a lot of the things that they talk about on the podcast is actually the parentification of some of the older
Yep.
kids because they were doing all of the parenting. I mean, like there's episodes where like they're gone doing whatever and Michelle has to parent and they're like she doesn't know what to do because she's not the one
Yeah.
who's normally like telling them where they're supposed to be and all of that. So it's just really fascinating. They are very snarky. They are not proponents of, I mean, they're not like Duggar fans. Also, with everything that's like come out recently
Yes, about the other brother.
about the other brother, I mean, it's just
Uh,
wild. So it's just a fascinating listen. Highly recommend.
yeah. Oh my gosh. No, I think about like the parentification of again, I'm gonna throw names out. I loved the show when I was younger. I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many of them.
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah.
Jana, Jana, the
Yes.
oldest girl, when she listen, by no means do I think that a man can save a woman, but when she finally got married, I genuinely
Yes.
thought she was free, truly.
Uh, yes,
Compared to,
because she was still like underneath her father for that long. But part of me is kind of like, I wonder if she waited so long to get married because she had already parented. Like, like she had already done this with all these kids. And like for them, marriage means like you're about to like start having babies. And so I really wonder if for her it was like, okay, this is me kind of putting off when that happens because I've already had to do it. I've already raised 18 kids,
yeah,
like so but when they got I don't know her husband's name. But when they got married, they did move away. So she's not even in Arkansas anymore. She's far away and I'm like, good for her.
yeah.
They did just have their first baby though, so I'm like,
Oh, I didn't know that. I guess I've been
yeah.
falling off. I'm slacking. And then there's
On the
one
Ducker
Duggar.
news.
There's one Duggar that I'm like, please, please be a good one. Please be a good one. I've always thought he was just precious. It's Jed. Jed, I really like.
Jen.
He's one
Okay.
of the boy twins. Uh,
Okay.
so Jedediah, not Jeremiah. Nothing wrong with Jeremiah, but I always was
I
like,
know.
Jed's cool.
I mean, I've listened to, I watched the show too, and now I've listened to like some 100 something episodes. I still get them confused. And I'm
Yeah,
like, I know the older ones and then a couple of the younger ones, but I'm like, those in the middle, I'm like, I don't know.
I can hear Michelle's voice being like, we've had 19 children. Like, oh,
And
oh,
the girl who does the podcast does an imitation of Michelle, and it is spot on. And like just the way that they say different words, like I die laughing at this podcast.
Uh,
So it is equal parts hilarity and informative.
yeah. Okay, and then before we start talking about your books and all of that good stuff, I would be remiss not to pull us back to something we were talking very briefly about earlier, Mormon wives. Oh,
Yes.
dear goodness.
Okay,
I
I would like your take on it.
please, which
Yeah.
which part specifically?
Okay, that's such a good question. I think I want to hear. Okay, have you watched from the beginning?
Yes.
I feel like this is your type of show. That's the
Yeah.
vibe that I'm getting. Yeah. Yeah, I also watched from the beginning. And this season, before all the craziness with The Bachelorette happened, I was like, that was a pretty good season. Like,
Yeah.
I felt like I got the tea on things that I wanted to get the tea on, and it didn't feel like anything like too crazy happened. The Demi and her husband singing, I
Oh,
was
Monica
like,
Pearl.
I have never felt more secondhand embarrassment than I did in that moment. I was like, my whole body hurts
Yeah.
from being like, please stop, please. And you know that they gave her that, like, they kept that in on purpose. They gave her
Yeah.
that edit. I'm like, man, somebody really hates you. Somebody in production.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sad because I really loved that song and now I'm like, oh, I'm never gonna hear it the same. Um,
never.
I this may be a TMI fun fact, but it's something I love to say when anybody like asks. I love this show so much. I'm not like obsessed, but it makes me have like a more positive perspective on my life whenever there's like drama or like things are hitting the
For
fan. I'm
sure.
like, you know what? At least my life is not televised and I'm not living in Provo, Utah, dealing with all
Yes.
this crap. And I remember I had been watching it from the beginning when the third season came out because the newest one is four. Yeah,
Is the fourth.
when season three came out, when season three came out, um, it was the day it came out. I had a doctor's appointment. I was getting an IUD, and I, they don't give you pain meds or anything. So I was
No,
like, "Hey, do you mind like if I put on, something relaxing so I
that's
can,
hilarious.
chill?" And she was like, "Yeah, that's fine." I start season three of Mormon Wives. My gynecologist has never watched it. And so she's casually just putting my IUD in and she's like, "What is this
What is
show?"
that? Yeah.
And she messaged me like 2 weeks later. She goes, "I'm all caught up. What did you think?"
That's amazing.
I
That's the best gynecologist, honestly.
She's so real. I love her.
Yeah.
But it was so funny. Um, I will convert anybody to watch it just for the
Yeah.
drama's sake. Like, is it scholarly? By absolutely no means. Is it hilarious? Yes.
But
Uh,
really, I don't want scholarly in my TV. Okay.
no.
Like, I made the rule a long time ago. There's enough drama that happens in my own life. I don't want it to be like sad drama that I'm watching on TV. Like, I want it to be entertaining. Like, I want my TV to be mindless and entertaining because I have to think too much in my own life. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
want to have to think when I'm watching TV.
Yeah, I want to turn my brain off. And I think all of those
Yeah,
women, minus like maybe Macy, have turned
I
their
do
brains
love
off too.
Macy.
I love
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
I
I love her.
And it's not even just the fact that she's also a fellow book girly, but like
Yeah,
I would go to bat for her, truly.
yeah.
I don't know how much I can say about the rest of them. Fun fact, I used to be, well, that's not true. I love Whitney. I feel like
I
I
do love
was,
Whitney.
as a Dancing with the Stars nerd, I feel like I was writing for Whitney so hard and it was
Yes.
crickets and haters. So, um
Okay, well, I obviously watched all the seasons. I was like an original Whitney hater
oh, at
in the
first,
early
I think we
seasons,
all were. Anybody who's like,
which
"I loved you from day one," you are lying. You are
lies a
lying.
lie. That's a lie. But like also Connor is the most wholesome husband. Like he's just like he had his own shit in the beginning, which like not good, but I feel like he has never tried to blame anyone but himself. Like he
Yeah.
has owned up to everything that he's done and really like put in the work. I feel like, I mean, I don't know this person, but from what it seems, he's like put in the work to like actually try and remedy things and be 100% there for his wife. Like the thing that infuriated me this season was watching Zach and Jen and him be like all whiny about how Jen was like getting to live her dreams and what is he doing? I was like, what a I don't have a good word for him. I was like, I was just, that really made me mad because I have such a supportive spouse, you know, like I can't imagine.
Yeah.
And like we have definitely taken turns like following our own dreams. And I just can't imagine somebody looking at me and being like, well, but what about like the kids and they miss you. And I was like, when he was saying that, just like as a parent too, I was like, that is
So
such a
manipulative.
horrible thing. So manipulative, like so terrible. It made me so angry. I hated that. Trying to think what else. I think those are the highlights from the season. And then all this drama with The Bachelorette. Now, I am an OG Bachelorette watcher. Are you?
I'm pretty
Okay.
close to OG. I'm not
Yeah,
all the
I don't think I was like
but
OOG. I'm a little young for that, but I was pretty close to the beginning and stopped watching several years ago, which I think everybody kind of was like,
I feel like I fell off. Oh, when they put Grant in, I was out. No hate to
I don't
Grant,
even,
but like I think Grant, God, I don't even know what season
I know, I'm like, I don't even know if I watched that.
I watched Jin Tran and then
No, I didn't
like
watch that.
barely watched
Yeah,
Jin Tran, but I loved her.
yeah,
That was probably my exit. When
yeah.
they announced Taylor Frankie Paul, I listen, this is not from a place of being a woman hater, but like I thought it was a horrible call. I didn't like,
Hmm.
first of all, she hasn't been in the franchise. She wasn't like a contestant previously. I feel like it's so unfair to everybody who like mentally endured the trauma of the show to be overlooked for like a stunt cast. But
Right.
I just
I
also
get why they did it.
I
I
get
mean,
why,
to
but
bring in viewers,
but
for sure.
Taylor is the one where I'm like,
That was the wrong
Miranda was right
choice.
there. Miranda was right
Yes,
there.
she was right there, ready. Yeah. So that's been like a whole thing, which I think I have varying opinions on like canceling the airing of it. I think that what she did was obviously atrocious. I also know that she has already pled guilty and like faced the punishment for her crimes, right? Do I think she should be platformed the way she is? Probably not. It should have been Miranda, right? I also think at the same time, all of that being true, I also think that Dakota released that at the time he did on purpose
Yes.
in order to get her season canceled and in order like that is an act of manipulation, right? And in
Oh, for
order to
sure.
keep her in his orbit, right? And that whole storyline even before that the season was canceled, watching their back and forth on season 4 and watching him be like save a rose for me, I was like literally vomit.
Yeah.
No. And so I was like, I know he's going to do something to mess it up. Now, did we expect this? No.
No.
But I was like, he's not going to let her have this. He's going to do whatever he can to weasel his way back in.
Mm-hmm.
Gross. Anyway,
Yuck.
that's my rant
Loved.
about the Mormon wives.
Yeah. Ugh. I
I know
like
somebody,
I don't know. I don't know if season five is gonna air. I don't know if they're
I
done.
don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I think it was Br- Brian, maybe my husband, or somebody asked me recently, are any of them actually Mormon? And I was like, Mormon's a very loose, a very loose
Yeah.
term for what's happening.
Yeah. I feel like it's the shock factor of like Mormons act like this. And I'm like, if
Yes.
you I've also seen videos where like people will ask like BYU students like what's your favorite swear word?
Oh,
And they say like
yes.
darn, dang it, or like whatever,
Yeah.
frickin'. And I'm like,
Yeah.
there are two kinds of Mormons.
Mm-hmm.
You've
Mm-hmm.
got the like by the book of Mormons, and you've got the freaked out Mormons. I feel like it's
Uh-huh.
not even a spectrum. It's like you've got one or the
Yeah.
other. So
Yeah.
it's a time. Okay,
It is a
let's
time.
actually let's actually talk about you and your books. I'm thinking like I never put a time limit on my guests ever because I always have so much fun interviewing them. But I was like, I wonder, just pop culture rant wise, how long we've spent so far. But good for us.
I'm a yapper too, so you get me started on a topic that is interesting to me. I'm like, let's talk about it. The most recent one is my husband knows that I like to have like the gossip, but again, I work for myself, so like there's no gossip. There's no like work gossip. And so like I used to love like talking about like what was going on at school and yada yada. But now I have no work gossip. So he'll come to me and he'll be like, "Do you want to hear my work gossip?" I'm like, "Yes, I do."
Yes.
Yes, I would love nothing more than to hear your work gossip. So I just want to talk. That's
Yeah,
all I want.
love. Okay, so speaking of how you used to be in education, when did you first start to realize that you kind of wanted to step away from that and move towards something else?
Oh yeah, probably year one, in education. No, that's a lie. So the funny thing is I kind of accidentally happened into education. It was not originally what I was going to go to college for. I was originally going to go be a theater major and then was kind of talked out of that as what has, I feel like it happens. If you're going into the
Yeah,
arts, people are like, "Are you sure?" And I
yeah.
think I had enough people be like, "Are you sure?" that I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm 18. I'm not sure what I'm doing." And so I spent my first semester of college just taking like the most random classes ever. And after that, felt like I needed to make a decision. And so I just kind of decided on education and I was good at it. I think anybody, like, I feel like if you have an acting background or a theater background, like, you can be good at anything because you're just making it up. You're acting
Uh-huh.
as you
You're kind
go.
of
Um,
molding to your environment a little bit.
uh-huh, uh-huh. So I was good at it and I did enjoy it. There were things that I loved about teaching. So I did 4 years in the classroom, and then my last like 2 years, because of the way that the like pregnancy fell, was when my daughter was born, and so I was like gone for part of um, the end of one year and the beginning of the next school year. And my oldest has, I'm very open about this. This is not new information to a lot of people, but my oldest was born at 24 weeks. So she had a very complicated y- first year or so. And so going straight into that and trying to still be a good teacher, I was like, okay, I can't be in the classroom. And the thing that they do to you when you're a good teacher is they give you the kids that are a little bit tougher, have a little bit more going on at home. And I always worked in Title I schools, which are like your really low income schools. The kids had a lot going on, which was fine. I loved that population. I would much rather be with that population than like a high income school. But I was good. And so they were like, here are the really tough kids. And after like evacuating my classroom multiple times that year, I was like, all right, I've got to find something else to do. So, one of my best friends was a librarian, and she was like, "Go do a couple classes, start working on your master's, and they'll hire you if you've got a couple classes under your belt and you got like a finish date for when you're going to finish your master's. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. And I spent the next 3 years in an elementary school library and I loved it. I had so much fun and had my second daughter while I was doing that. And then COVID hit. And so, like, life. And
Yeah.
everything for the world went out the window. And so I ended up not finishing my master's for that because I was like, I'm again,
Yeah.
like I was meant to not have to choose a job for the rest of my life. I was like, I can't just pick one. I don't want to do this. So I moved back to kind of I was more of like a hybrid. I was a reading specialist. So I worked with students part of the time and I worked with teachers part of the time. Um, and so I did my last 3 years doing that. You're getting a whole background on my
I
teaching.
love it. Oh my goodness.
But
Please.
I feel like after that I was like, okay, I've done 3 jobs within like the realm of education. And anything else that I would be able to do, I would have to go get a master's to do, like if you move up into administration or anything like that. And I knew I really didn't want to do that anyway. And so I was like, all right, that's not going to work. So, and I had gotten to the point where it was so bad that the summer that I left, I was having panic attacks about going back to school in
Mm.
August. And my husband looked at me one day and he was like, we're not doing this. Like, you can just go find something else to do, because you should not be going into a job where you're having panic attacks 2 months before you have to go back
Yeah.
to work. So uh, I was prepared to go get a job at Starbucks or go do literally anything else because I knew that I wasn't gonna go back. Um, and thankfully, I didn't. I mean, I still feel like working at Starbucks, they have good benefits. I'm like, I still
Yeah,
feel like
that's
I
what I've
could,
heard.
yeah, yeah. I feel like I could maybe do that, but I don't have to anymore, so that's good.
So, what was the timeline like from you shifting from that, from education to starting to pen your first book?
So I actually wrote Yours Unexpectedly while I was still teaching. And so I started that book in March of 23 and was just like very loosey-goosey about it and just, kind of wrote when I felt like it and didn't really sit down and finish a draft until November of that year. Because I do NaNoWriMo. I was like, I'll do that and I'll finish this book. And so I finished my first draft in like early December of 2023 and it came out in May of 24. But I was doing that after bedtime every night. Like, so I would work all day, I would come home, I would put the kids to bed, and then I would come sit in the office and write. And I am not a night person. Like especially not when you're teaching, like you're so tired. Um, so I really don't know how I did that. It's a blur, because I'm like, I don't know how I stayed up past 10 p.m. Writing and got actual coherent sentences out. I'm really unsure how that happened. And so after that, I was like, well, I don't want to do that again. So I'm gonna have to figure out how I can write during the daylight hours, and not after the sun has gone down.
Yeah. So when you made yours unexpectedly, what was the kind of learning curve process like when you were figuring out, okay, like is trad pub going to be an option? Do I want to for sure stay indie with all my stuff? What was that decision like for you?
Yeah, I think so. I knew that I didn't have the patience for trad, right? I was like,
So
I
real.
it was like, well, and I think too, because I had always been a creative in some aspect, right? But like I had never written a book before. So this was the first book that I wrote. And I think in my mind, I was like, I just want to make sure that like, if if I write this and everybody hates it, I'm just never going to write another book. And so I was like, I don't want to spend years figuring that out, like have and then what if I, have gotten an agent and I'm on sub or whatever, and then I'm writing another book, but I don't even know if this book is good. Like, I'm like, I don't even know. What if everybody hates my writing style? Like, I don't want to spend all of that time figuring that out. And so I would rather just self-publish it and then see what people think. Like, and if they like it, I'll write another one. And if they don't like it, I'll just delete this Instagram and fall off the face of the planet
Oh.
and never come back. Um, so that's kind of, I mean, that was really my main motivation in sticking with self-published because I was not about to spend all that time wondering if I was even any good or not. Uh, and then I think for a while it was like I published around the time when a lot of indie authors were being picked up by traditional publishers. So I was kind of like, well, maybe if that happens, great, then we can kind of see what that looks like. And if not, then I'll just keep writing. And I think that the fact that after having so many conversations with so many people, I'm very happy with the way that it worked out. I love that I have so much control over the process. And I talk a lot with newer authors that are kind of deciding which route they want to take. I'm still newer, so I'm like, take my advice with a grain of salt. But I'm like, there is no wrong answer to what is more important to you, right? Like, is it the most important? Has it been your dream forever and ever to be in every Barnes and Noble across the country? If that is your dream, you should do trad, right? Like that's the place you should go. If you are like, I want to be in a Barnes and Noble, I want to eventually be on like a USA Today bestseller list or New York Times or whatever, like you should go trad. Because the likelihood of that happening from an indie publishing standpoint is it's just not the same process, right? You don't have the publisher backing you and all of that. If you want to be able to make your own decisions, publish on your own timeline, make money, then you should self-publish. So I think I'm like, there's no wrong answer. Like there's no bad way to do it. You just have to figure out what makes the most sense for you.
Yeah. Okay. We finally get into the questions about the books and the characters specifically. So, um, I am personally obsessed with the Bardos. I wish that
Thank
I
you.
was one of them. I only have one brother, so reading
Same.
about a big family is like my favorite thing ever.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
do I want kids right now? No, but when I have kids, I'm like, I want them to have a fun family like this. The
Yeah,
vibes are
for
immaculate.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So I know mothers don't typically play favorites, but is there a Bardo sibling? I think you've gone on record saying that your favorite is actually the mom, if I'm
I
not
was gonna
mistaken.
say, you said you specified sibling, and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
because Elaine is my favorite. Yeah.
yeah, she's pretty awesome. But I think if you had, and you don't have to, but is there by chance a personal favorite Bardo sibling in your eyes?
A Bardot sibling. Okay, first of all, Elaine is my favorite. So I'm just going to
Yes.
go on record again saying that the mom, Elaine, is my favorite. I aspire to be her. And I think if I had to pick a favorite sibling, oh, that's hard. I am most like Bex. So Bex and I are just Bex's character was easy to write because it was a lot of like, how would you react in this situation, Rachel? Like that's how Bex is going to
Yeah.
react. Um, but I think I mean, the favorite is Jules. Uh, I think like everybody, you've got this broody but like tender-hearted, tattooed, man bunned, tall hunk of
Yep.
man. And like I knew as soon as I wrote his first scene in Yours Unexpectedly, which is Bex's book, I was like, oh, everybody's gonna love Jules.
Yep.
Like, everybody's gonna love Jules. And he's just so sweet. All the rest of them are so, the other brothers, Ben and Gabe, are just like goofballs. And Jules is just so like tender and sweet. So, yeah.
Yeah. Mad respect for saying Elaine is your favorite though, because she's
She's the
awesome.
best. It's also just me and my brother. And the Bardot family is modeled after not their personalities, but the setup of their family is modeled after my husband's family. So he's the oldest of four, and he's got there's three boys and a girl. And I just always like I met my husband when I was very young, and he's the oldest, so all of the siblings were younger. So I kind of got to see that dynamic play out. When I met his youngest sister, she was like, oh my gosh, she was like 13 maybe. And so just to see kind of her grow up in that family of these three older brothers, that's always been so fascinating to me. So when I was setting up the Bardot family structure, I was like, I love this dynamic and I have enjoyed watching this dynamic play out. And so that was the inspiration behind kind of the three older brothers for Bex and then her.
Yeah. Well, it's so good. Now, obviously, I could gush about your books for quite a long time, but for any of our listeners who may not be the most familiar with you and the books, tell them a little bit about the Bardot Siblings universe and specifically about Foolishly Yours that just came out.
Yes. If you've ever read like a Bridgerton type series or Bergman Brothers, they're all B's. I didn't do that on purpose. Then you kind of get the gist of like how the Bardot sibling series is laid out. But it is a family, a big family that lives up in a fictional town called Sassafras, Massachusetts. And it's also very loosely based on like a Schitt's Creek. Like I just really wanted it to be like kind of ridiculous. Like why is there this town named Sassafras where there's a college campus there, and Elaine, the mom, is my favorite, is a sex therapist, professor at the college, and she's just like got this family as a well-oiled machine, and they're just a bunch of goofballs. And so in book one, you meet Bex, and she has always been kind of like secretly crushing on her oldest brother's best friend, because who doesn't love a brother's best friend, Anders. And so lo and behold, he's also been crushing on her, but he's had a lot of things that have kind of gone on in his life that he wasn't ever ready to date her. And so he's been gone for a couple years. He comes back. She's in her senior year of college. She finds out that she has to take a fine arts credit in order to graduate, gets thrust into this introduction to acting class. He's come back, to get his master's in fine arts after going and like trying to make it work on Broadway for a couple of years. And he ends up TAing the class that she has to take. So they are thrust together, and at this time, Anders is like, okay, this has happened. Like she's been put back in my life for a reason, and so I am ready. He's taken the last 2 years to kind of like get his shit together. He's sober now. He's gotten a diagnosis for his ADHD, so there's like some things that have. He's in therapy. We love a man in therapy, and so he's like, okay, I'm ready. Like let's date, and she's like, absolutely not. Like best I can do is friends with benefits. And that works out exactly how you think it's going to work out.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, in that she's like, okay, fine. So it was, I had such a great time writing that as my debut. It was really fun to kind of lean into some tropes that I really love. And then obviously like with the theater background, getting to pull that in and really have fun with that was great. So that's book one. And then you get Merrily Yours, I won't forget about that, which is a Christmas novella, which takes place a couple of years after the epilogue of Yours Unexpectedly. And you go through one chapter from every family member's point of view leading up to Christmas. And so I loved that one because that was the first time I kind of got to, I mean, we got to revisit Bex and Anders, right, and see like what's going on with them. But then you also kind of get to dip your toe into the minds of all of the other characters, and who will obviously all get their own book eventually. And so it was really fun. And we're going to talk about Foolishly here in a second, but I remember writing Ben's chapter, and his female main character Cole is in that chapter. They run into each other in Merrily Yours, and I wrote that chapter, and I was like, "Oh, I can't wait to write them." And I had to write a whole other book between there, but I was like, they are just absolutely intriguing. And they're going to be fun and they're going to be ridiculous. And so I was, from the moment that I wrote them, I was really excited. But book two, before we get to Ben and Cole, book two is Jules and Thea. And Jules is, like I said, the kind of broody brother, who is a teacher. And so that was me bringing that aspect of things into it. It's like he's a teacher, but he's not happy in his job. And his brothers kind of rally around him and they're like, there's a coffee shop in town called The Coffee Shop, and it's owned by an older couple, and they are like, okay, we're retiring. And so the Bardot brothers band together and take over the coffee shop and rename it Bardot Brothers Coffee Co. So they get to do that, uh, which is a lot of fun to see. Kind of, you don't get a lot of Ben in book one. He's off in Boston, which you learn more about later. But I wanted to bring him home, and I wanted them to kind of all be able to have one of my favorite things to write is like the family dynamic and those scenes and those interactions. And so, really wanted there to be a lot of that in. Entirely Yours. I had to think about what book I was talking about. Which
They
one's
all
that?
go together.
They all do. I'm like, which yours is it? And so I wanted them all together, and a lot of that is because Thea, it's an accidental pregnancy book, which I know some people are like really anti-accidental pregnancy,
Target
but
audience. I love it. I will defend it. I'm sorry.
I love an accidental pregnancy, and people have said to me that even if they don't love an accidental pregnancy, that they did enjoy this book. And I think it's because of Jules. And so I'm like, he was the one, and I knew going into before I even started like figuring out what his story was going to be exactly. I was like, I love an accidental pregnancy, and if it's going to happen in this series, it's going to happen to Jules because he's just like the best one for that to happen to.
Yeah, and God forbid a man be like extra nurturing in a
Like he's excited. Like
yeah,
she's terrified to tell him, and he is so great. He's like, I support you no matter what. Like whatever you need to do, it's your body, your decision. But once she's like, no, I think I want to have this baby, he's like, great, me too. Like he's like, I also want to have this baby. So it's just really sweet. He's so sweet. And takes care of her so well. And he's literally just like, let me love you. And she's a single mom and has a terrible baby daddy. And so there's just a lot of like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm gonna let you do that. And then you get a little bit of her family dynamic too. Her daughter Chloe. I used a lot of inspiration from my own daughters to write Chloe. And she's just feral and unhinged and says whatever she wants, and I love it so much. I think that's part of the fun of like throwing a kid in a book, right? It's kind of like the kid or like the old lady. Like both of them will just say whatever they want because they can. So I have in this book, I've got the kid and the old man, Thea's dad, and he also just says whatever he wants. So there was a lot of fun dynamic there. And then for Foolishly, so Ben and Jules are twins. So I don't know if you ever get like a writing idea that you're like, oh my gosh, this is such a great idea. And then you start to do it and you're like,
What was I thinking?
why did I do that? So that happened a little bit with this one, because I was like, oh my gosh, Ben and Jules are twins. What if their books were happening simultaneously? And so I have an amazing editor, Sadie, who is phenomenal and read through it when she was editing Entirely Yours. She knew that this was the plan. And so she marked every time Ben was like referenced or Cole was referenced or anything like that, and like gave me a timeline of like their side of the story so that when I was writing
It lined up.
Foolishly, I could make sure that it lined up because that was stressful, man. I was and not that I think that like people are gonna like really fact check it, but I did want it to be, as closely aligned as possible. So Foolishly is, I can't remember if I said this on air or not, but it is my favorite book I've ever written. It was just the best time. So they are rivals to lovers. What I really wanted to write was like an enemies to lovers, but listen, in contemporary,
It's hard.
I don't believe there's a place for enemies to lovers. That might be a hot take, but when you're writing contemporary, I'm like, nobody's, it's highly unlikely that there's like really high stakes here. Like
Yeah.
nobody's kingdom
Yeah.
is at stake. So it's a rivals to lovers, not an enemies to lovers. But they are high school rivals. And in the prologue, you see Cole's at the first party she's ever been to on their graduation night. And they have spent the last 4 years like fighting over every title and all of that. She ends up being valedictorian, obviously. And she's been too scared to go to any parties before graduations because she's like, I'm not gonna risk anything. Like she's very risk averse. And Ben is at the party, of course, because and isn't this the way it is? Like men can just do whatever they want, boys can do whatever they want, don't get in trouble, which is, a whole commentary in and of itself. But he's been partying all of high school and has never once gotten caught. It's never been an issue. And so she's all mad. She's drinking for like the first time, and he's like, let's play beer pong. And she's like, I'm not playing beer pong with you. And he was like, let's play beer pong, and whoever wins, if I win, then we're going to make a marriage pact, where if we're both single by the time we're 30, then we'll get married. And if you win, then we don't have to make the pact. And she can't turn down a challenge. So she's like, okay, even though she's never played a game of beer pong in her life, she
Yep.
plays been in beer pong and loses, obviously. And the last line of the prologue, so they make their marriage pact. The last line of the prologue is like, and I don't like Ben does not bring up the marriage pact again for the next 12 years.
Yep.
So she's like living her life for the next 12 years with this thing in the back of her mind. And like anytime she moves away for college, but anytime they kind of come back in contact with each other, it's just in the back of her mind of like, he's never said anything about it. In Merrily Yours, you see the scene where they run into each other, where she's about to turn 30, and he looks at her as she's leaving the coffee shop, and he's like, gives her a countdown. Like he knows how long it is until she's going to turn 30. And am I allowed to cuss on this podcast?
You may absolutely cuss on this.
Okay, great. I always got to clear it. She's like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean? You know how many days? Like, this is not even something you've brought up in the last 12 years one time. And so she's like, well, I've got a couple months to find somebody to date so that I'm not single when I turn 30. And so she starts trying to date people, and he does not take very well to that. And so he starts sabotaging all of her dates. And she does not like that. And so there's just a lot of banter and a lot of fun and like nicknames derogatory to nicknames affectionate, which I love.
Yes.
Um, I'm like, I love the progression. And then on her birthday, he comes over and proposes, and she's like, "You have lost your mind." And just kind of chaos ensues from there without giving too much away. But I know I was like, I don't know what it was like when this came to me, or I wish I knew like what inspired this, but I was like, what about a marriage pact? I mean, I feel like you see a marriage of convenience a lot,
Mhm.
but you don't see the marriage pact as often. Um, and I think it's one of those ideas that's just ridiculous enough. And Jules even
Yeah.
says it. He's like, you don't have to like hold to this pact that you made when you were 18. And Ben's like, yes, I do.
Yeah. Not only
Actually,
do
I
I
do.
have to, I want to.
I want to, and I am enthusiastic about this. So, it's a really great, I mean, it's all like happy, silly, goofy, but then you also get, Cole is, autistic, and she's had a hard time, making friends. And so you kind of see, and like maintaining relationships. And so you kind of see the care, not only the care that Ben takes with her, but then also like once she feels supported in that, whether she'll admit to it or not, like how she's able to kind of start making her own relationships again when that's something that she hasn't really been able to do, since college. And so, her journey was really fun to write too. I really enjoy writing representation in books, where it's not the plot. So,
Yeah.
like Cole's autism is not the plot of the book, but it is a part of her, and so it's going to be, incorporated into, um, just her character. Same with, a lot of people talk about Anders' sobriety from Years Unexpectedly, and that was something that was really important to me to write. Of like he isn't struggling with it. It's just a part of who he is. So it's not the plot of the book is not his sobriety. It's just a part of him. And seeing kind of those healthy relationships around him that like Gabe is always like, well, oh, you're sober now? Okay, great. They do this thing called Margarita Monday where they have margaritas every Monday night and Chinese takeout. He's like, great. Well, now I make non-alcoholic margaritas and that's it. Like it's not like, well, let's sit and like have a therapy session about your
Yeah.
sobriety, which I think is like I think that is important. And I think that those kinds of books that are maybe a little bit more high angst are great books. And who doesn't love a good cry, right? But like
Oh, yeah.
my my goal in writing is I want you to laugh, but I also want you to relate to the story. So I'm like, can you see yourself in this, or can you see somebody or a part of you or whatever, but not feel like whatever is going on with you is being turned into a plot. Like it's just a part of the character.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when reading Foolishly, I really loved the autism representation because I've
Hmm.
had interactions in like close relationships to um people who are autistic before, and
Yeah.
I feel like I've never read a book that like explains it both clearly and like not overkill.
Hmm.
Especially when you would read, or I would read like the text conversations between her and other people, especially like her and Thea at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'm coming over. Like, why
Yeah.
would I want to help you with that? Yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah. Hmm.
It just
Yeah.
it was very seamlessly and well done. So
Thank you.
mad props to you. I always love all the different pieces of representation you come up with in your book.
Thank you.
So highly recommend. Okay, last few questions regarding the Bardot universe before I have to pick your brain about Get Lit because
Okay.
I would
Yes,
never
we'll
miss
talk all about that.
the
Yeah.
opportunity. First off, Indulgent. Can you tease anything about Gabe's book at all?
Mm,
I know when we're filming this, Foolishly isn't even out yet, but
yeah.
anything?
Okay. So the funniest thing about Gabe and his book is he was originally going to be second. He was going to be the second book. And I was talking through kind of just like plotting out the series with a friend, shout out Joelle, and she was like, you can't put Gabe second. And I was like, oh, but everybody's gonna want Gabe second. And she was like, yeah, so you can't give that to them. You can't. And I was like, people are gonna be mad. And she said, then they can be mad at me. So everybody who's mad about not having Gabe's book yet, you can be mad at Joelle. Um, but it honestly, I think she was spot on. I would have given y'all Gabe's book and it wouldn't be what it's going to be. And
Yeah.
so it would have been a very different story than what it is going to be now. So if you've read any of the books, it is not a surprise that Gabe's um, female main character is Lucy, who's one of Bex's best friends. And they kind of have a little something that you don't really know. You don't get the behind the scenes on what's going on in Yours Unexpectedly. So you kind of see like, wait, there's something here, but we don't know what. And then you kind of get a little bit more about it in um, Merrily Yours, but again, you don't really know what. And Lucy's my free spirit. Like it's a sunshine book. Gabe's also a free spirit, but a different way. Gabe's like a goofball. He's just like a giant man child. And he really needed time to grow up. And so I think it's good that his book is being put off. But Lucy's just like a ray of sunshine. She's a very free spirit. She has been like teaching yoga in Hawaii. Like that's kind of like life she lives. And their book, you also, if you've read Entirely Yours, like light spoiler alert, you find out that at the end of that book, you find out that Lucy's engaged, not to Gabe. And so, and so we got to put him through the ringer a little bit. But book four, which is wild, Gabe's book is going to be a runaway bride
Oh,
second chance
yes.
book. So, yeah,
I will always ride or die for a runaway bride trope. I
yeah,
don't care. Like, I don't
yeah,
care if it's like messy or like
yeah,
necessary. I'm here for it. Ooh,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
deep.
So I'm really excited. It's the majority of the book is not going to take place in Sassafras, and so that's going to be an interesting. I haven't done that before. Everything's been like kind of right in the heart of this small town. But this one's definitely going to have more like Mamma Mia, Eat, Pray, Love vibes. So yeah, like it's gonna be fun times. It's gonna be fun times. I'm really excited for it.
You can't say Mamma Mia and expect me to stay grounded in my chair. That's just mean. Oh my God.
I love Mamma Mia.
I gotta
I
know.
love Mamma Mia.
I've gotta know. I'm on a tangent, but Mamma Mia is like one of my favorite things on the planet.
Hmm.
Who do you think is the father slash who do you want the father to be?
Listen, do I know all of their names? No.
What the
I
vibe?
think what?
The vibes. It's okay.
The vibes. Okay, I think I'm not even gonna know the actors' names, but I think hold on, I gotta look it up because I can tell you who I can picture them in my head, but I'm like,
Mm,
I've got to make sure that I give you the correct Mamma Mia. And I love the show, right? Like as a musical theater girly,
yes.
love the show. And I just love ABBA. Like I was the kid that was like making up dances to Dancing Queen in my bedroom as a child. So, I love all things ABBA. But the movie, like that is one of the best musical to movie adaptations ever. You can't change my mind on that. Okay. I think I think her dad is probably Colin Firth's character.
You think it's
Harry.
Harry?
I think it's Harry. But I think obviously Donna and Sam were the ones that were like in love.
Ooh, that's so interesting because
That's my theory.
I think the father is Bill. I
Really?
Yes, but I will say, until now, I have yet to meet somebody who thinks that it could be Harry, and I kind of love the possibility of it being Harry.
I just see like okay, I like Bill, but I just feel like Harry was so like A, freaked out, but also like came to the point where he was like ready to step up
Yeah,
and like do the thing, and I just love that so much.
yeah, he adapted the fastest. Okay,
He
had to say,
did.
had
Yeah,
to ask.
yeah.
I will never pass up
That's
a Mamma Mia
that's my theory. I
little
know. I
under.
know. So there's no like who's the dad in in Gabe's book.
Yeah,
But
but
like all those like happy vibes. I really want so in every like fictional small town you have to have like your staple places, right? So like one of the staple places in Sassafras is Louie's karaoke bar. And so I try to like put a scene or two at Louie's every book. And so I really want this is like in secret insider information. I don't know if it'll make it into the book or if it'll be like a bonus scene or something. But I really want Gabe and all the boys to sing "Take a Chance on Me"
yes,
as their like karaoke song at Louis. So
yeah, I'd be here for it
yeah,
for sure.
I'm like, just can't you picture them all like doing like the background music on
Yes.
that?
I'm like, okay, who's singing lead? Who's going to be on the side just going, take a chance, take a
Take a
chance,
chance, take a
take a
chance.
chance.
Yeah.
Oh,
100%. Yeah.
okay. Last question, Bardot wise. I think readers will find one of the siblings in particular to really relate to.
Yeah.
What would be some advice that you would give to each of the Bardot siblings that we might be able to take to heart?
Oh my gosh, that's a really good question. I love that. Okay, let's start at the beginning. So for Bex, I think that the advice for Bex is that it's okay to trust people, right? It's okay to want something and be nervous about that and see how it goes, right? Like it's okay to do something that might fail, right? It's
Yeah.
hard to do. I think for Jules, he gets some really good advice from Hugo, actually, his dad, in the book that I would echo. I wrote it, so I echo it. But Hugo talks to him about like sometimes the tighter you hold on to something, um, the more instead of like making somebody or something feel loved, you're making them feel constrained or trapped. And so it's okay to be there and be the nurturing one and be the one who's always taking care of everybody else. But it's also okay to take a step back and take care of yourself,
Yeah.
right? And you don't have to hold on so tight. The people who matter are not going to go anywhere. They're still going to be there. For Ben, I feel like there's like a theme in the siblings of like Ben has lived his life doing like the finance bro thing and has saved like bukus of money, right? Invested, like not really cared about anything else other than like killing 12 years
Yeah.
until Cole is 30. And so he's like, what am I going to do for the next 12 years? But I think for him, one of the things he struggles with after he leaves that job and is kind of waiting for Cole to come around is what his purpose is, and figuring out like, okay, I have always been in this really high demand job, and now I'm back in Sassafras where things move a lot slower. And he's helping at the coffee shop, but he's not the oh, it's Jules's baby, right? And so he's just kind of there for a fun time and not a long time. And so I think for him, it's more about like it's okay to be purposeless a little bit, and it's okay to take your time figuring out what is important to you and what you want to kind of build your life around. I think for him, he knows he wants to build his life around Cole. And you see that a lot. I feel like you see that narrative a lot. I don't know about you. I grew up very, this is a whole other podcast, but my evangelical religious trauma taught me that like the woman builds her life around the man. And I think with Ben, you see that it's the man who's building his life around the woman, and I kind of love that. So I don't know if that's advice or not, but I think it's okay to kind of be aimless and figure out, you don't have to be achieving all the time, which I think is a new thing for him. And then for Gabe, oh, Gabe, I think is going to have to learn um to embrace and be happy with his goofy side. I think for him, he's always been the class clown and the funny sibling and the one that nobody really takes seriously. And so I think that there's a little bit of a fallback onto, well, I'm the funny one. And I think there's also a little bit of resentment there that he's always the funny one. But that's his role, and he plays his role well. Um, and so I think there's going to be a bit of falling back in love with that side of himself, of being the fun one, and that's okay. And we can embrace that, and we can enjoy that side of who we are without, and at the same time, find a way to kind of uh, let go of the resentment that we always have to be the funny one. How do you build in that time where, or those people around you, how do you set the boundaries to where you are the funny one and you enjoy that and you're silly and you're goofy and you're there for a good time, but you also have everybody goes through hard things in their life. And so, what does it look like when I am sad today? You know, how does the world handle that?
Love it. Oh my goodness. I could live in the Bardot universe. I'm sad it's not real. It makes me sad. Fun fact
I am
though,
sad.
I will say though, I should have sent you a picture, but I was driving. I was driving to California last month and I don't even remember what state I was in. I think it was either in Arizona or California, like in a really pretty mountain range. We passed sassafras. So it's
What?
real in my heart. It's
Oh my
real.
gosh. I love that. It's not real in Massachusetts. I did Google that, but I didn't even think to Google if it was real somewhere else. I love
I
that.
saw
I'm gonna have
it
to
and
go
I was like,
visit.
oh my gosh. And then it was
I
gone.
wonder if they have a bookstore.
I know.
I'll have to look it up and see. Yeah, it is. It's going to be really weird. I think starting on a series is a good idea. I think if you're like, if you're a debut author trying to figure out what you're going to debut, I think starting, especially if you're self-publishing, I think starting on a series is a really good idea, but it is going to be so weird when the series is over and
Yeah.
I am not in Sassafras anymore and not with the Bardos. So it might have to become like the Rachel verse where like
Yeah.
this couple is visiting wherever ends up being next, and there is a little bit of a tie. So I've got my next two series kind of planned out in my head, and there's a bit of a tie-in on one of them. Like there's, if you look closely in uh, my books, you might be able to figure out where we're going eventually. But it will be really weird not to be with the Bardos all the time.
Yeah. I will miss them. I already missed them and I don't even have book four
I
yet. That's
know.
okay.
I know.
Um, okay, so to wrap up the episode, I want to talk to you about Get Lit because
Yeah,
obviously, absolute force of nature. I remember
thank you.
being at the first ever Get Lit, not as an author. I was going with like my friends from book club. I had
I
no
love
idea
that.
that it was a thing. And they were like, yeah, it's like a grown-up book fair. And I was like, I'm dropping all my plans immediately and we're
Yeah.
going. And I remember the brewery was packed. The
Yes.
line was like almost a block or so long, probably more.
Yes.
I don't know straight measurements. It's fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I was like, I don't know. There was people there.
I think I even heard that some of y'all sold out in like the first 30 minutes. What was that like for you, both as an author, but also as like the creator of this event?
Yeah. I so I'm gonna walk us back and then I'm gonna get there. But I went to visit a friend um, before the first Get Lit was even an idea. And I went to visit her up in Kansas City. She's a writing friend. And we went to her public library has this romance genre convention thing that they put on. And so we went to that and it was so much fun. And then at the last day of it, they had like a little signing room with a bunch of local authors that would have just like put up their tables in the library and you could go and buy their books and all of that. And I was like, this is fun. And at that point I had never been to I had been to Book Bonanza, which is like a huge convention, but I had never been to anything more local. Because in those big book conventions, you've got people coming in from all over the place, right? So it was just a totally different experience. So I'd never been to anything local like that, and I was like, that was pretty cool. And then obviously, like with my education background, like being a librarian, I love the book fair. Who doesn't love the book fair? So I reached out to Lockwood Distillery, which is where we had our first one, and they replied back in like 30 minutes. So everybody had full confidence in this, except for me. I was like, there's not going to be anybody there. Only thing I did to advertise, I put a Facebook event out. It wasn't even called Get Lit when I first put the event out. It was literally just called like a grown-up book fair. And I had no other social media. I had nothing. And then a friend of mine was like, you should probably like put a name on this. What about Get Lit? And I was like, okay, Get Lit, grown-up book fair, great. And I was also called an adult book fair, and someone was like adult, like adult, and I was like, well, kind of, but no. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, no, no, but yes. And so then we changed it to grown up. So that was the evolution of that. But it was wild. I thought nobody was gonna come. I thought we were all gonna be, there were 17 vendors at that fair. I thought we were all going to be kind of just staring at each other and twiddling our thumbs for 4 hours. And in an hour and a half, I sold 90 books. And I was like, what just happened? And I think we all looked at each other with the same what just happened kind of mentality. And what surprised me that day and what continues to surprise me every event is the how excited the attendees are. Like the community that we have built has been the best part of all of this. Like there are just people who I had somebody come up to me one time at a fair and she was like, I never got to spend money at the book fair as a child, and now I get to spend money. Like I get to buy books that I want, and I never was able to do that. And that was just so wonderful to hear that people of all walks of life feel really comfortable coming in and shopping and so that part of it's really cool. And then I hear from my vendors and they're like, this is life changing. This is money that's going to cover, my vet bills, this emergency vet bill that I had, or this is money that's gonna, for me, I'm like, we just got, my oldest daughter's starting her orthodontic
Oh, yeah.
journey. So I'm like, this is money that's gonna go towards that. But it's just things that, I love to bring the community together and I love being able to support independent authors and small businesses. And and people are just really cool and very talented, and to have the ability to showcase that and to bring people in to see uh, the level of talent that exists is a joy.
Yeah. Genuinely, both as like an attendee and as a vendor in the past, there's no wrong way to go to a Get Lit book fair.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
such a good
I'm
environment.
jealous of the people who get to attend.
Yeah, because you are
I'm
first
like,
one.
I would love to. Yeah. I told my husband one time, this was like after the third or fourth fair, I was like, I think maybe next time I'm not going to have a booth and so I can just like walk around and shop. He was like, no, no, we're not going to do that. So I did try. Yeah, it's been amazing. I love it so much. I love the community that we've built. And I really try to make sure that like my vendors feel cared for, that they're going to be successful, and then that the attendees just have a good time, that it's a good vibe. And we also have this team of volunteers that just continues to show up. And I get questions all the time. They're like, how do you get volunteers? Where do they come from? I'm like, I have no clue. I
They
have
just show
no
up.
clue. They just show up and they are thrilled to be there, and they are so great, and they are constantly just walking around and checking. I'm like, I told them nothing. They just do, they're here and they just do whatever they think needs to be done, and it is like the best thing ever. But I'm like, that's a testament to book people. I just feel like book people are the best people. And so they'll show up for the community, and they'll show up for the authors and the vendors. And it's just a really cool experience.
Yeah. So for any of my Texas listeners, or anybody if you just come to Texas, you need to go to one of these. Genuinely,
Yeah.
go to the website, go to the Instagram, look at the calendar, and book a date. Also get VIP tickets because the perks are incredible. Um, when is the next? Okay, I'm not vending for a while because my schedule's bonkers, but the next
Yes.
one is, well, the episode will be out. I was like, the next one's April 10th, right?
April 10th. Yes, but I don't know when this is coming out after that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like I don't know. So April 10th, but then after that is May 3rd. We'll be at Tubbs Brewery up in McKinney, Texas. And
It was
then
gorgeous there last time. It was a
oh,
perfect sunny
I
day.
know.
Oh,
I'm crossing my fingers for that exact same day
yeah.
because it was perfect. And that week we were so stressed because it rained like up until the day before, and then it rained for like a week after. And we just had like that one perfect day of sunshine. It was great. So hopefully we have another fabulous day. And then we have our last fair of the spring season is June 5th at Four Corners Brewery, which is another place that we love to go back. It's funny, the bar manager over at Four Corners, his wife is a book girly, and she came up to me. She came to that first fair,
Oh
and
yeah.
she came up to my table and she was like, I'm so sorry. My husband and my kids are in the car. Like, we just drove by here because I needed to come in here and give you his card because I want you to come to Four Corners. And this is amazing. And I'm obsessed with it. And I want to read one of your books. And at that time I was already sold out. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I'll give you one next time. But like, she was like, I want this to happen, and made it happen. And so, we love working with them too. And then our fall dates will be coming soon. So follow along on our page for that.
Awesome. This has been so fun. I genuinely don't think like my face hurts from smiling so much. This has
What
been
a ride.
a blast. I know. It was a wild start with all the things that we've been watching and
Yeah.
debunking and talking about. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to go check out that Duggars podcast for real.
Oh, it's so good. If you take nothing from this episode, go
Go.
listen to the Duggar podcast.
Okay, so to close out the episode, tell our listeners where they can find you, whether that's any upcoming events or online.
Yeah, you can find me the easiest place to find me is Instagram, and I'm at Rachel_M Lewis over there. I've got some upcoming events. I'm like, okay, what's coming up? I might be at BookCon when this comes out. I can't remember. So if you're there, come say hi. And then I'll be at Signed with Spice up in Bangor. I always say it wrong. My Texas twang wants to be like Bangor. Bangor, Maine in May. And then I'll be at the City Fling in Austin in June. And then I'll be at a meet and greet queue in Knoxville in July. And then in August, I'll be asleep.
You're like, and then I am resting.
And then I will be resting.
Do not disturb.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't try and find me.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, there you have it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Talk Wordy. And my thanks again to Rachel Lewis for coming on the pod. Don't forget to follow the podcast on Instagram and TikTok at Talk Wordy Pod, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, you guys.